So guys, welcome back to part 3 of my Asian Pacific game, playtesting some add-on features to the Actung Panzer under the Hengist comic guys. For those of you who need a quick recap, this is a US Marine Corps recce and strike force with the intent of doing an assault river crossing should their ability to seize the bridge fail. Final objective is the Japanese defensive positions and the high ground to the north. The situation to date, we're in round 7. On the right flank, the American platoon here is currently pinned down by a Japanese sniper position. However, this position was about to be flanked by a US heavy machine gun platoon when the US AOP observed a Japanese infantry platoon in ambush in the logging position. Meanwhile, over on the left flank, the US forces have pushed through what was an initial roadblock. However, the Japanese played a tropical disease card, which has the US pinned down with fatigue for 2 rounds. Japanese artillery units, supported by the mortar platoon, have provided indirect fire support, not actually causing any casualties on the Americans, but it has forced the armour back and is causing a bottleneck for the anti-tank platoon to follow up. The Japanese were withdrawing back from the roadblock. However, the US played a very interesting card, which is effectively a friendly fire card. So artillery that should have came down on the US is shifted 12 inches away to the nearest friendly troops. In this case, it was the guys actually falling back from the position. So as mentioned, the US forces have now played their friendly fire card. This brought indirect fire down onto the Japanese platoon that was in withdrawal. US forces are continuing to push forward now towards the Japanese platoon in the logging camp area. It's going to be a difficult battle for both sides. The Japanese dug in and the US using their heavy weapon machine gun platoon. On the left flank, we now see the US Stuarts pushing up through the roadblock to the edge of the town, and the Japanese forces now in a full retreat. Indirect fire in effect wipes out the Japanese platoon from their own friendly unit from the battle deck card. The battle in the centre is starting to rage quite heavily now, with casualties coming up on both sides as the US reinforcements pushing through. What we now see is the observation posts from the Japanese artillery batteries in the rear attempting to observe forward onto the US positions. However, they're currently unable to do so, as you will see now from the periscope, because of the dead ground and the terrain. Periscope adds much needed reality to the gaming factor itself and getting rid of lots of complaints over line of sight. Round 7 for the Japanese. It's a difficult problem for the Americans, as Zeros have arrived on both in a air-to-ground and air-to-air, forcing the AOP off the table. The US roll and the AOP is actually out of play for the next 3 rounds. 2 Zeros have been rolled for the possible option of a number of aircraft, and now that the AOP has been pushed away by harassing fire, they're now going to focus on the mortar platoon. Meanwhile, in the centre, the Japanese platoon that had taken casualties, as you will see, plays a battle deck card on abandoned medical supplies and manages to recover some of their assets from the indirect and direct fire of the heavy machine gun platoon. Very fortunate for the Japanese to play the battle deck at this time, as they did take 4 hits and managed to recover some well needed troops back. As mentioned, the aircraft dice is rolled and 2 zeros now home in on the US only indirect fire support, the 81mm mortar platoon. Fortunately, the Americans played their battle deck card, and the go underground means that they're eligible actually to take a better saving throw, which actually saves half the platoon and avoids a morale test which would have been disastrous for the Americans. However, the Japanese aircraft remain overhead. More than likely next round they'll go back for the same area. Over on the left flank, the artillery starts engaging the Americans and causes 2 casualties on the left platoon. Fortunately, at this stage, no American air power is in play, so the artillery is firing at maximum effect with no regard for any airstrikes. Guys, thank you very much for watching, and until the next time, stay safe.